Do you want some quiche too? Man, that's a yes. Okay, get down. Come on. So today we are heading to France to make a seasonal French quiche. But today we are making it completely plant-based, so that means no eggs. And I'm also going to show you a healthier way to make this quiche without oil, so it is lower in fat, packed full of protein, and is absolutely delicious. So to get started, we are going to start preparing our crust, our quiche base. Now today I'm showing you how to make an oil-free variety. So this is a lower fat version, and we are utilizing an oil-free vegan butter. And you can go and check out the separate video that I've created of how to make this. It's super easy. You just make it in your blender. It's absolutely delicious, and it's great to use as a spread also on bread. But today we're going to be utilizing it in this pastry crust for our quiche. So for our oil-free crust, it comprises of simply 5 ingredients, if you count water as an ingredient. We have some flour. So today I'm using 2 different types of flour. I'm using an all-purpose flour and an ancient grain flour. Now this is einkorn flour, but if you can't find that, you can also use like a whole wheat flour or spelt, or you can just use all-purpose flour. So I'll leave that up to you. Using the ancient grain gives it a lovely nutty flavor. It's easier to digest and adds a little bit of extra fiber and nutrition, okay? And to that, we also have some salt as well. So I'm going to put those 3 ingredients together in my stand mixer. You can also make this in a food processor or do it all by hand. Now with the paddle attachment, we're just going to get that going on. And we just want to mix that salt and the 2 flours together until it's evenly dispersed. Now that our salt and flours have been mixed together, we can add our oil-free vegan butter. So the oil-free vegan butter is just made up of cashews, vinegar, we have some water, agar, and some turmeric for color. So very few ingredients, but it's very delicious, and there's a secret ingredient in it as well that gives it a buttery flavor. So go check out that video how to make it. Now back onto our mixer, or if you're using your food processor, and we're going to mix this together. So we're going to mix this until it turns into like a crumb consistency. So by using this oil-free vegan butter, it reduces the fat content by half. So it's half the fat of traditional short crust pastry. Okay, so now that that's a breadcrumb-like consistency, let's take a look. It's kind of like a crumble consistency. We are going to slowly add in a little bit of water at a time, just until it starts coming together into a dough. So I've got some nice cold water here. We're just going to add a very small amount at a time. We want our mixer to be able to turn it into a nice ball of dough. It's starting to come together. Splash more. Yep, see it's turning into a ball. Everything's kind of coming together. So I'm going to switch that off. It all comes together very quickly. Now I've got our pastry dough. I've just popped it out onto my bench. Just want to make sure that everything has come together. We've got a nice workable dough. Now you can go ahead and grab yourself 2 sheets of baking paper or some guitar sheets, and we're going to roll this out. And I have some rolling guides here. These ones are 4 millimeters. So depending on the size of quiche that you are making, if you're making one large one or lots of small ones, today I'm going to be making a large quiche. So I just measured my edge and then my diameter, and then across here again. So we need a little bit over 30 centimeters wide in a circle. So that's what I'm going to do today. But if you're making lots of small ones, you can just roll it out into a big rectangle, just that If you're doing smaller ones, you can make the thickness a little bit smaller, so maybe more of a 3mm, and then if you're doing a big one, more of a 4mm thickness. Okay, so it's definitely more than 30 centimeters. So this will be perfect to put into our form. So I'm just gonna pop this onto a tray into the fridge for about 2 hours, just for it to completely rest. So when we form our tart, there's less likely that it's going to shrink during the baking process. So into the fridge now for 2 hours. So now we're making our plant-based egg filling for our quiche. And the base of this filling, we are using some medium firm tofu, and it just so happens that it's exactly 2 of these packs that I'm using for this recipe, which is perfect. So essentially all we need to do is put all of our ingredients for the egg quiche filling into our blender and blend everything up. I'm gonna go through each one. So of course we need our tofu, and I'm just gonna crumble that up a little bit just so it's a bit easier to blend. We have some water. For some creaminess, we're adding some almond butter, and this is a raw almond butter which I made myself. It's more of like a paste. So essentially all it is almonds without the skin, which are blended into a butter. It's gonna give us a creaminess without adding any additional oil. We also have some Dijon mustard. We have some apple cider vinegar. And to give a savory, cheesy sort of flavor to our egg base, we have some nutritional yeast. Lots of umami as well. It's going to bring out all of the other flavors. And to give it an eggy flavor, we are using a special salt from India called Kala Namak. And you'll be able to smell it as soon as we start blending. It has a bit of a sulfuric smell. Don't worry, most of that actually dissipates when we bake, but it does give a really nice savory flavor to our base. I also have some garlic powder, some onion powder. Oh, someone has decided to join us. Bennett, did you think that that's real eggs? You looking for, you want some quiche? Do you want some quiche too? Meow. That's a yes. Okay. For color, we also have some turmeric, just to give a nice egg yellow color. Some white pepper, and I'm using a little bit of tapioca starch as well, just to help bind everything together. So now all we need to do is blend this until we have a nice kind of thick, creamy consistency. It's going to be a lot thicker than a traditional egg-based quiche filling, but that's normal. Okay, so we have this nice, thick, creamy consistency. It almost looks kind of like mayonnaise. Now we're just gonna give it a little bit of a taste for seasoning, just to see if it needs some more salt or pepper. Yeah, I think it might need a little bit more salt. Just remember, when you are tasting it, it is going to have that raw starch flavor. That will cook away when we put it in the oven. Now we can transfer our base into a bowl. Now you can add your favorite vegetables or whatever you have in your fridge that you want to use up for this quiche. So I've got some leek, which I just sauteed. Because I'm keeping with the oil free, I just sauteed it in a little bit of our vegan chicken broth. So if you do want to kind of keep it more low fat, you can do that, or otherwise you can just, use a little bit of oil, that's up to you. This is all customizable. I also have some spinach. This was just some frozen spinach, which I thawed. And I have some mushrooms as well, which I sauteed again in a little bit of that vegan chicken broth. So I'm just gonna cover this with some cling wrap, and this is going to go into the refrigerator for all of those flavors to infuse, and also while we are waiting for our pastry dough to be ready. And then we'll come back soon and put everything together. So now our dough has been chilling, we can start putting it into our form. So you can use any kind of form. So I am using, so this is a 21 centimeter ring mold. And these are great because you can use them for cakes, tarts, lots of things. So the first thing that I like to do is just spray the inside with a bit of oil, just to make sure, you know, just as a security that it won't stick. And then I have here on my tray, just some baking paper and an air mat. If you don't have an air mat, that's fine. I just like to use it. You get very nice, even baking and nice crispy base. And I've just put a little bit of oil sprayed on my air mat as well. I'm just gonna peel that off and then flip it and then peel this side just so it's easier to release. And we're going to carefully lower it into our ring or into our form. And we want to do this without stretching that dough. I'm going to get right into the corners and just any of those folds, I'm just pressing those into the side wall. Now I'm going to go in with my rolling pin and just roll off so it'll cut the edge for me. Okay, now I'm going to transfer this into my freezer while my oven is preheating, so for about 15 minutes, just for that dough to really chill up, and it will also help again to relax the dough. So I'm going to pop that in the freezer now. So now that our shell is chilled, we are going to blind bake it. So blind baking is where we're essentially baking it without the filling to get the crust nice and crisp, because we don't want a soggy crust. So I'm just going to take some baking paper and we're going to scrunch this up. Now we're going to put it inside our pie. Get it nice in the corners. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to put some weights. And you can use these things called baking weights, which you can buy, but I'm just going to be using some dried beans. So I've got some chickpeas that I found in my kitchen today. You can also use some rice. And essentially, you can reuse your dried beans or rice as baking weights over and over again. And that's going to hold our crust into place. Okay, perfect. So we're going to pop this into our oven now for about 30 minutes and keep an eye on it. We want the pastry to cook through before we put our filling in. So I just took my pie crust out of the oven. So we're going to put in our filling that we prepared earlier. It is quite thick. That is totally normal. So let's get this going in. So let's cut into it and taste a slice. And let's take a look at our slice. Ooh la la. You can see our creamy quiche with all of those veggies inside. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's give it a try. Delicious. Packed full of protein, healthy as well, lots of veggie in there, nice cheesy flavor from our nutritional yeast. So there you go guys, that's our French seasonal vegetable quiche. I hope you enjoy it and I'll see you next time.